guys, just a recap of where I am and what I'm doing at this point. So aside from the work on the boat, I'm trying to improve my videos. Look at the back of the last video, and yeah, it was a little shaky here and there, but you know, I'm learning as I'm doing the same kind of thing as I'm doing with the boat. So anyways, my plan is to improve the videos as time goes on, with hopefully improving my skills and also improving some of the technology. I think when I get to 100 subscribers, I will buy a better camera. Right now I'm using my iPhone camera, but once I get to 100 subscribers, I'm going to buy a digital SLR camera and improve. Also, I'm trying to remember to turn my phone from portrait to landscape, so it's a better picture. Every once in a while I forget, my brain goes on vacation. So anyways, that's where I'm at with the videos and trying to improve them. As you can see, I haven't had a haircut in quite some time. A little leery of going to do that, getting that close to people, but eventually I think I'm going to have to, you know, just give up and go and get a haircut and just take my chances. Right now the COVID cases are, well, for the last few days they've been around 100. The last couple of days they've been up to 160. So it's not terrible. The chance of contracting it are probably fairly low. Still makes you a little leery. I don't want to catch it, obviously. Anyway, so that's where we're at on that.
So I had a delivery today. The sink arrived that I ordered, and it's roughly in place. So this is the way it looks right now. I just finished up that cabinet wall. Put that piece of plywood in place, and the sink's going to go on top like that. The head. And the step for the head. So slowly but surely, things are coming along. I think I kind of like that. For the head, for the countertop, I've cut a piece of plywood where the countertop would go, and there's the new sink on it, and there's, just about falling over, there's the head. I think that's going to look pretty good once that's all sort of fiberglassed and gel coated, and some decision has come to as far as what kind of countertop we're going to put in there. I think that's going to look pretty good. I've still got to mess around a little bit with that step. I'm not sure I'm completely satisfied yet with what I have there, but I'll take another look at that and see what exactly needs to happen, or if anything needs to happen, or, you know, I just want to make sure that I've got it as close to perfect as I possibly can. So I've been working on the step for the head. That's the piece. So initially I cut it with the jigsaw to get a rough shape. I fit it in, and of course it fit high. So I've been repeatedly trimming and sanding, basically sanding in the area behind here. So what I was doing was just using a piece of cardboard, thin cardboard, to kind of find where the tight spots are, and then slowly sanding it away. And this is kind of what I ended up with. It's kind of a nice profile, because this has a bit of a lump to it. I had to cut it back and kept trimming, and then I'm just leveling up with this level line. I got a line here for level, so I'm just putting it into there to where I got level. What I'm going to do then is I'm just going to take a router bit and trim off the excess from the edge, and that should leave us with a nice step. After that, I don't know if you can see it on the lower step on the camera, but I've rounded over the edge, and I'm going to do the same with the top one here. And that'll leave us with some solid steps to finish with some fairing compound and then some nice paint, so it looks almost like a gel coat finish. So that's the goal there. Okay, so I'm going to make this piece conform to the hull. I'm going to do that by taking this piece of wood here, and putting a line on it at fairly regular intervals. Can't get into that one very well. And if I join all those lines, I should end up with something that's very close to the shape of the hull. Pencil's working. So now I'll take that and cut that with a jigsaw and then bring it back and fit it in and make a more precise line. So I cut the piece of plywood to the dimensions from where I scribed it before, and that's the result. So now I'm going to scribe it again to get it a little bit closer than it was before. So I'll take that same piece of wood, turn the other way. Alright, so then I'm going to join those lines. This time I'm going to cut it on the angle of the hull, so I need to figure out roughly what that is. So I'll use my handy dandy gauge and kind of come up with a rough, it doesn't have to be exact. Something like that. I'll set my jigsaw to that angle and I will cut along that line. That should get me a closer point to where I want to be as far as that being. So that fit in quite nicely now. So now I have to make it go around these support ribs. So I'm using a contour gauge. I'm just going to press it in like so. You end up with something like that. And then I'll place it down and kind of approximate where it would be. Mark it on the rib. And then I'll get the jigsaw, cut those out, and hopefully that fits right back in nicely. So I cut that piece, I've got it so it conforms to the hull. I cut the countertop, so, or actually not the countertop, this piece, so the countertop could actually sink into it. I was just kind of weighing up how far back I could have this and still allow the toilet seats open. I'm going to cut, I put a line there, I'm going to cut it right there, and then I'll just put the toilet seat on the head and make a judgment call as to what's going to work for that, but things are coming. So yesterday I spent the whole day sanding. I sanded the walls of the head. There was that white Formica stuff on it, and it was hell to get the adhesive off from the contact cement. I tried sanding and using some solvent to get it off, and it just took a long time and a lot of effort. So I've got a lot more of that to do on other parts of the boat, but here's what it looked like before. And this gluey stuff is really difficult to get off. It just takes a lot of time. The head is disassembled again to facilitate doing all the sanding. The step is just about ready to install. I've got it all glassed, and then I'm gonna have to bond it to the hull and glass over the whole thing. So for today, I'm hoping to epoxy the walls, because I'm gonna have to seal them with epoxy, because I'm gonna fiberglass the whole of the head. The reason for that is that I want it to be waterproof, obviously, and I want it to be a nice, almost factory finish, or look like a factory finish, and that's where I'm heading with that. So I've got to coat it probably at least twice with the epoxy, so that the plywood is sealed. Otherwise, it draws the resin out of the fiberglass when you lay it up. So that's the first coat of epoxy on the walls. That back wall doesn't need to be coated because it's going to be hidden by the cabinet. And I haven't gone all the way to the top. For one thing, there's more of that adhesive there, which I prefer to avoid. And secondly, I'm going to make a headliner mold, and then just slide the headliner in there, hopefully with some nice lighting around the hatch. So everything's got one coat. Well, not everything. The vast majority has one coat of epoxy on it. In behind the cupboard here isn't done yet. This wall here that you can see right in front of you there, the back side of that's all done. The steps, as I call them, where the head will eventually sit, I put another coat of the filleting compound on there, and that's coming along. It sounds pretty easy, but it's still difficult to do in the corners. Maybe there's a better technique that I'm not aware of. But all in all, so far so good. So here's the result of a few hours work on the back of the rebirth seat. There's going to be access hatches in those seats. One for this one here, one for that one there, and also I'm going to have some storage behind, right in here. So I curved this to allow it to flex. I did have a bit of a mishap here where I accidentally leaned on it, but the plan is to glass all that anyway, so it won't show, it won't be a problem. So I have to put a cover on this so it'll come right up to the inside of the hull, and there'll be some more storage in there for small, longer items. So that's the plan. So I'm going to continue working on that. The V-berth is going to extend from the wall here forward, probably straight to there, with some kind of additional piece. So here's the results from doing the back of that little seating area. in the V-berth. I haven't trimmed off the edge of the ply there. That's all to be done. I need a router bit for that. And there's the other side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a piece across here that would be a temporary, if needed, to extend the V-berth. And if not, that gives that full seating area. So you could do, at night you could have the V-berth, and in the day you can have the seating area. Here's a look from a different angle. So most of this would be covered by cushions. That piece right in the center of the screen right now at the top there, going along the side of the hull, that I'm going to cover with a nice piece of wood, whatever wood we decide to go with for the entire boat. So we'll just make that to match. So things are coming along. That's good. Got a lot of glassing to do. I intend to glass this whole area so that water gets in. You know, it's not going to over time rot all the plywood. So another positive day's work. Once again, underneath here is going to be a fairly large cabinet. I'm going to bring that this piece of ply, probably not as deep as this, but all the way back to here. So it'll go all the way along that'll help support the V-berth. And it's coming along. So this is where we're at with the V-berth currently. It's a bit of a mess up there with all the debris, but you can get the idea. There's going to be a cupboard down there below. So this area up here where the Formica was, I've removed the Formica, and underneath this contact cement was holding it in place. The contact cement is a pain to get off. It doesn't come off easily with any particular one method. In the head I used solvent and scraped, and then I found one wall where I could just kind of peel it off, and there wasn't much left to sand. This area up here is really a problem. I have to sand it, get it, the contact cement kind of raised up a little bit, then I can scrape it, then I gotta sand and repeat and repeat and repeat. And after a long process, it does come off, but it's taking a lot of time and effort. So that's just going to be a problem all the way through the boat. I mean, there's a fair amount of Formica, but the good thing is it does come off. It just takes a lot of work to get it off. So that's the plan. But things are coming along. As you saw in the clip before, I'm getting some progress with the head. Things are starting to go into place. Won't be long, I don't think, I hope, until that's ready for operation. And my plan is to use it to run a hose from the head off the boat to a holding tank below the boat. And fortunately, where I am, there's a pump out station not very far away, so I'm hoping to do a makeshift kind of thing where I can wheel that over and pump it out and then bring it back, and then have a working head and eventually a working shower here. So I'm reluctant to use the facilities at the marina with the COVID, so I'm just trying to manage until I get the head into some kind of workable situation. Yeah, and that's where we're at basically. Things are coming along. It does feel like things are starting to come together, at least at the bow of the boat in terms of the head and the V-berth. And I'm still waiting on parts for the compression post. That should be in shortly, I would hope. And the hatches, I heard from the supplier last week that they would be 2 weeks out. So that puts us another week, and we'll start to see the hatches and be able to
at least put one of those in place. I plan on putting the one in place for the head, so I can finish that off. I'm going to my plan for the ceiling of the head, I think, is to make a mold and then just make like a headliner from that mold. So that'll be another first attempt at doing something. So we'll see how all that works out, but I think that might be the best way to go on that. And, the other part of the head, I'm just going to glass the walls and fair them, and eventually, or when they're ready, paint them. The countertop, I'm hoping to putting a solid surface on there, and I'm anxious to see what it's going to look like when it's finished. I want to do it to the point where somebody can say, or can't say, that it was something that was done by a non-professional. I wanted it to look very professional and as if it came off the production floor. So I'm working slowly and steadily and not rushing. It's better to do it once right than do it twice wrong. So that's where I'm going with that. Thanks for following along. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel.